that heartwarming Disney love story between Pocahontas and John Smith? Well, it turns out we need to have a serious talk about that. Today, we're diving into the stark difference between Disney's beloved animation and the disturbing historical reality of Pocahontas' life.
Yeah, and it's actually quite shocking how different the real story is from what most people know through the Disney version.
Let's start with the basics. Who was the real Pocahontas?
Well, first off, Pocahontas wasn't even her real name. She was born around 1596 as Amonute and also went by Matoaka. Pocahontas was actually just a nickname.
Oh, really? What did the nickname?
It meant playful one, and while Disney did capture that playful spirit in their animation, that's about where the accuracy ends.
Okay, so let's talk about the biggest misconception, the romance with John Smith.
Right, this is where it gets really problematic. When John Smith first met Pocahontas, she was only 10 or 11 years old. He was 27.
Wait, what? That's completely different from the movie.
Exactly. And according to historical records, they were never romantically involved. In fact, Smith was actually feared by many indigenous children in the area.
Why was he feared?
Well, historical documents show he would often enter villages and hold chiefs at gunpoint, demanding food and supplies.
That's quite different from the noble explorer in the Disney version.
And you know that famous scene where Pocahontas saves John Smith from execution? Many historians actually question whether that ever happened.
Really? Why is that?
Well, Smith wrote different versions of this initial meeting with Chief Powhatan. Many historians believe what he witnessed might have been a ceremonial ritual that he misunderstood.
So what actually happened to Pocahontas?
The real story is, it's actually quite tragic. When she was about 15 or 16, she was kidnapped by English colonists.
Kidnapped? That's definitely not in the Disney version.
No, it's not. A colonist named Captain Samuel Argall captured her, thinking that having the chief's daughter would prevent attacks from indigenous tribes.
How did her father respond?
Argall actually threatened to attack the village if the chief didn't comply. And there's more. Before all this, she was actually married to a man named Kokum and had a child.
Wait, she was already married?
Yes, and when she was kidnapped, she had to leave her baby behind. Her husband Kokum was later killed by the colonists.
This is just getting more and more heartbreaking.
During her captivity, she was forced to convert to Christianity, took the name Rebecca, and was married to tobacco planter John Rolfe.
Was this marriage voluntary?
Historical records suggest it was more of a political arrangement. The marriage helped establish a period of peace between the settlers and Powhatan's tribes.
And what happened after that?
She was taken to England, where she was essentially displayed as an example of a civilized savage to encourage investment in Jamestown.
That's horrible.
She died in England in 1617, at just 20 or 21 years old, never making it back to her homeland.
So how did we get from this tragic historical story to Disney's romantic version?
Well, the romanticization actually started long before Disney. In 1803, an Englishman named John Davis first turned it into a love story.
Really? Why would he do that?
It was part of a larger pattern of trying to create a more palatable narrative about colonization.
And Disney just continued that tradition?
Exactly. The 1995 film essentially took this already romanticized version and added singing animals and a magical talking tree.
You know, it's interesting how the animation techniques of the 90s helped sell this sanitized version.
Right, and while the animation is beautiful, it completely obscures the dark reality of what happened to the real Pocahontas.
Do you think Disney should have told the real story?
Well, that's complicated. The real story involves kidnapping, forced marriage, and cultural destruction. Not exactly typical Disney material.
But maybe that's exactly why it should be told?
Absolutely. The real Pocahontas story represents one of the earliest documented cases of what we now call missing and murdered indigenous women.
That's a powerful way to frame it.
And it's important to note that her story isn't unique. It represents a larger pattern of violence against indigenous women that continues today.
How has the indigenous community responded to Disney's version?
Many have criticized it for whitewashing their history and turning a story of colonial violence into a romantic fantasy.
It really shows how stories can be used to reshape history, doesn't it?
Exactly. And what's particularly concerning is that for many people, the Disney version is the only version they know.
So what should people take away from this?
I think it's crucial to understand that while Disney's Pocahontas is a beautiful piece of animation, it's not history. The real story matters.
And the real story is actually more important than the fantasy version.
because it shows us the true cost of colonization and how history gets rewritten to make people more comfortable with uncomfortable truths.
Do you think there's hope for more accurate representations in the future?
Yes, actually. There's been a growing movement to tell Indigenous stories from Indigenous perspectives.
That's encouraging to hear.
And it's vital because these stories aren't just history, they're connected to ongoing struggles for Indigenous rights and recognition.
So what's the key message people should remember about Pocahontas?
That she wasn't a Disney princess, she was a real person who endured tremendous trauma, and her story deserves to be told truthfully.